I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. This was in the 60s and 70s when New York was in pretty bad shape. And it was dangerous. There was a lot of abandoned buildings. If you've ever seen photographs of the area, it's sort of shocking to see. I was raised by my mother. We were on welfare. My mother was very, very adamant that I should do better and get out of this situation. I pursued my studies. I did well in school. It sort of became an option of a doctor or a lawyer. I loved the law. In the neighborhood where I lived, people were not knowledgeable on the law. They didn't know their rights. I would ask questions. Why is it that we can't do this? Or why is it that we have to do that? And no one knew. And no one really seemed that interested in finding out. I figured I'd have to do it myself. What field of law led me to an incident when I was a teenager. There was a woman who lived in the neighborhood. She was a lovely lady, living by herself. She worked somewhere down in Wall Street and always well dressed, and her hair was perfectly made up. One time she came back from work and she had walked by a construction site. A stick had hit her in the head. She told me about it, and I said, well, how are you? And she said, I think I'm okay. She goes, I lost consciousness for a bit, but I think I'm okay. Well, she wasn't okay. Over the next couple of months, she began to deteriorate. She wasn't dressed as nicely as she used to dress. Her hair wasn't as made up as it used to be. Ultimately, she lost her job, and her sister had to come and take care of her. No one ever explored how this stick of wood hit her in the head, who dropped it, how it fell, and whether she had any remedies. So that led me to want to be a trial lawyer and represent injured people. Once I started to learn more about the law and the options of law, I didn't want to do corporate law. I didn't want to divorce law or estate law. I knew I always wanted to be in a courtroom because to me, that's what a lawyer was a lawyer who went to court and represented their clients. Join a prosecutor's office. That was a very close second. You're on your feet, you're in court, you're arguing cases, you're arguing motions, which is what excited me. But I knew that person becomes a prosecutor and then they leave the prosecutor's office. They need more money, they want to try something different. What are their skill sets? Their skill sets are defending criminals. That's a very admirable, but I was more attracted to representing someone who was injured and needed help. There's two reasons. I mean, one is that this woman who got hit by the bar always struck with me because she never really got any help or financial assistance for this. And her life, she lost her life, essentially. So I did want to go into that field. And that really was sort of the reason I chose what I did. It's nerve-wracking to be a young lawyer and go in front of a judge who's in a black robe and is barking at you. What about this and what about that? Or to go into a selected jury for the first time and tell the jury about the case and what you intend to prove and all this, and all the evidence that's going to come in, and you're not sure you can even find your way to the courtroom. So yeah, there's a lot of nervousness in starting this career. Every case ends in a story and an experience and knowledge. You're constantly collecting information in your head and knowledge and experience in your head and hopefully getting better. Chinese population that turned the neighborhood around. I started my own firm in 1990. I wanted to represent the Chinese community. So my first office was in Confucius Plaza. It was a very exciting time. I think there was a large influx of Chinese coming over from China. It was the times of the Golden Venture boat. A lot of these immigrants from China were being abused, taken advantage of, mistreated. Both men and women in different respects were not being treated well at all. When they did get a lawyer, I didn't think that the representation was of the quality that a non-immigrant, non-Asian person would get at the time. And I don't think there were any firms that were specializing in representing the Chinese population for personal injury. It was sort of overlooked. That's what I wanted to do. I always put myself in the shoes of my clients, especially back in those early days when we had just arrived here. And I tried to put myself in the shoes of, if I went to China and I didn't speak the language, I couldn't read the writing, I didn't know the laws, what would I do? And I would need to rely on somebody who can assist me. Well, that was the message that I tried to communicate from the very first day I started, was if you have a question, if you even have a question about how you're being treated on your job, or you did get hurt, or someone has taken advantage of you, call me, call a lawyer, and get some advice and get some insight. Call a couple of lawyers and get different opinions, and you'll get knowledge just from speaking to the lawyers, and you'll be in a better position to protect yourself. So growing up on the Lower East Side, as I told you, when I was young, there was all these burnt out buildings, abandoned buildings. The streets were dangerous. In the 80s, the Chinese population, the Chinese immigrants started to move in. And they moved into these very difficult to live places. They started their own vegetable markets and fish markets and meat markets and employment agencies. They turned the Lower East Side around. Everybody takes credit for the renaissance of New York, right? Mayor Giuliani takes credit and the police take credit, and they should. They contributed. But what I never hear is that the immigrant Chinese population really laid the groundwork. They moved into these abandoned streets and abandoned buildings here and in Jersey City and in other neighborhoods, made them neighborhoods again, and had shops open. And I know they suffered a lot. There was prejudice against them. They didn't speak English well, if they spoke English at all. They were smaller in stature. They were physically attacked many times, and it was still a very dangerous area. It was a very hard life. Just from my observation, I wasn't part of it, but from observing, it was a very difficult life. And it was the Chinese population that turned the neighborhood around. Mm-hmm. My first hire was a fellow named David Song. Maybe you know him, maybe you don't know him, but David came to me at 1990, 1991, and he had just arrived from China, and he's still with me today. He knows more than most lawyers. He's not a lawyer, but he has really applied himself to learn every aspect of the injury business. I've seen him get into arguments with lawyers, and the lawyers have to apologize because he knows the law better than they do. And he's on 2 radio stations where he answers questions on a weekly show. And he provides consultations in various locations. He just started at Chinatown Manpower, CMP, providing consultations there. So that first person is still here. This is indicative of how much hardship the Chinese had to go through back in those days. I represented a man who was working for a construction company, non-union, so there were no safeguards from the unions, and he was a day worker, earning, I think at the time, $50 a day or whatever. And it was a 5-story building that this company was renovating, and they picked him up for a day job. And they wanted him to work on the chimney, which was 5 stories up. And what they did to get him up to the chimney was they got a plank of wood, and they tied a rope on one end of the wood, and they tied a rope on the other end of the wood, and they threw the rope up over something, and they told him to sit on the plank of wood. And they pulled the rope so that he went up like an elevator, he went up on the plank of wood. Well, what do you think happened? I mean, the plank of wood, the plank slipped out, the rope unhinged, and he fell about 4 stories. We got a call, we went to the hospital. It was outrageous conduct. And for a while, the insurance company that insured all these entities, that, you know, they tried to say it was his fault. His boss had told him, don't go up unless you're tied in, or something like that. But ultimately, they paid him a lot of money, which he was entitled to every penny. But I don't think you would ever see another group or another population group be subject to that type of behavior, where these guys thought it was okay for him to sit on a plank of wood and, you know, tie it with 2 pieces of rope and just lift him up. You know, what did you expect? And they also said, well, why did he do that? He should have told his boss that it was dangerous. I laughed. So he didn't speak a word of English. So I said, why didn't you tell your boss that this was dangerous and you refused to get on this plank of wood? Well, the boss would have fired me. I wouldn't have gotten paid. So he had to do what the boss said. The boss says, get on the plank of wood. You know, he had to earn his $50 a day. He got on the plank of wood. It was dangerous. It was illegal. It was dangerous. It was reckless. It was cruel. Got a lot of words for that, what they did. I had just started, I had just started my practice when I was retained by the family of a little girl, 6 years old or 8 years old. She had stepped out between parked cars and got hit by a van. This was very early days, 1990, 1991. She had to go to the hospital. She had to have surgery, but ultimately she recovered. You know, she had a convalescence period, but ultimately she recovered. And I was a little nervous about the case because she had stepped out between parked cars. Shouldn't have done that. A little girl, you can't see. But we sued, and we found out that the van had plenty of time to see her. The van was, you know, about 150 feet away, and the van should have seen her. Within a year, it was very fast, we settled the case we recovered a little bit over $1.6 million for her, which back in 1990 was worth a lot more money. The case resolved. A reporter from the World Journal came up. I don't recall how he had found out about the case. I don't know if the family had called them or what, but the reporter came up and interviewed me and asked me about the case and expressed his astonishment that a little girl who walked out between parked cars and who seemed to have recovered so well could get such a huge amount of money. So I answered all the questions as best as I could. The interview ended. I sort of forgot about the interview. I showed up the next day or 2 days later. It was a Saturday morning, and my office and my lobby to my office, which was usually empty, I see a line of people. And as I'm walking past the line of people, I'm saying to myself, what are they all lined up for? And I see that they were lined up in front of my door. And what had happened once David came in and was able to tell me is all these people separately had read the World Journal article and were impressed and came in because they realized, hey, they all had cases of their own and that they should speak to an attorney. Who was injured in a construction accident, who was injured in a car crash, who was injured because they fell into a pothole. We had a fellow who stepped into pressed the button and the elevator door opened. He stepped in and there was no elevator. The World Journal is essential for the people who are here and for the people that are coming here. I mean, it's a lifeline for them to get the news and get information and get jobs and find services, not just for lawyers, but for doctors and every other need that people have. It's essential. And I've had a long relationship, 35-year relationship with the World Journal. The World Journal is one of my most honest relationships in my life because I advertise with them and I get a return on my advertising. And the World Journal takes my advertising seriously. They take all their advertisers seriously. They're constantly coming up with new ways. Because of the new media, they're constantly coming up with new ways to communicate the message and the news to their population. Whether it's through apps or WeChat or anything. I mean, they are constantly staying current, if not ahead of the new media. I think the Chinese have come a very long way in this city. I haven't seen a man on a plank being taken up by a rope in a long time. So I do think things have improved, but there's still a lot of room for improvement there. Maybe they don't have the loudest mouths. What's that saying? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. The Chinese community, my clients are the best clients in the world because when my clients come in, I know them. They are hard workers. They're family people. They're religious people. They usually get very badly injured because they're doing hard work. They're too busy. They're too busy to get involved in politics or protests because they're just trying to, take care of their family. So they don't have time to do maybe what other groups do. Although it is getting better. There's a lot more Chinese in politics. Only individuals, only people. It's where my heart is. I represented a lot of insurance companies. That's where I started. My practice was defending injury claims. That's where I saw that injured Chinese people were not getting the best representation because I could tell. I knew what the actual value of their injury was, and I would see that their lawyer would take less than the actual value. I think because the lawyer didn't respect the client. That was my thought. So once I decided to leave, I was 9 years in. I felt like I had sufficient trial experience and courtroom experience and personal injury experience that I could go off on my own and do a good job. I didn't want to work for I wanted to work for my injured clients. I didn't want to work for anybody else. The education process, which has been going on for 35 years, there's to speak with lawyers and to learn your rights. I think that message to a large extent has been delivered and received by the Chinese community. It still amazes me sometimes. We'll get somebody who gets dragged in by a friend and they were badly injured 2 years ago and they had no idea that they could do anything. It's like you don't see. I used to see that a lot in the early days. So we still see it once in a while, but most of the population, I think, is aware of their rights and takes advantage of it, which they should. Pursue your dreams. First of all, that's what I did. I wasn't an immigrant, but I was very close to being an immigrant, living on welfare and on the Lower East Side. And it was going to law school and studying that helped me raise my circumstances. And in furtherance of that, my firm offers a scholarship every year. for high school graduates who want to go to college. So we encourage all of the next generation to work hard and study. A lot of them are doing it. They're doing very well, and I just want to see more and more of them to succeed.
Mm-hmm.